my fellow Boricua Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Tú nos dices que debemos sentarnos, pero las ideas solo pueden levantarnos, caminar, recorrer, no rendirse ni retroceder, ver, aprender cómo esponja, absorbe. Nada sobre todos, faltan todos, suman todos, para todos, todo para nosotros. Soñamos en grande que se ponga el imperio, lo gritamos alto, no queda más miedo. Esto no es utopía, es alegre rebeldía.
Thank you. Hello, Las Vegas! How are we feeling tonight? And are we ready for the revolution? Do I have Carmen's lipstick on my cheek? I don't know if I've got like the tia kiss or something. If so, I wear it with honor. It'd be a badge of honor. I thank you all so much for joining us and coming together as community tonight. This is a really special and incredible moment, and I'm just always so honored. Thank you. I'm always so honored to share space with people who are willing to take time and who are able to take time. The precious time that you have, that you choose to spend it with us in community, in movement, to change our future, to work to change our future is a true honor. So I just want to thank you all so very much. Today's been a very busy day. We were in Los Angeles earlier today and held a rally with 14,000 people out in Venice Beach. And we sat with organizers that are working to establish housing as a human right. And I could not be prouder to stand in a movement and be part of a movement that truly has and adheres to core values that are indeed revolutionary. Because what we are seeking to do with this campaign is so much bigger and broader than an election. And what we were saying earlier today is that this whole fight and this whole campaign is for us to get to the starting line. It's for us to begin the work of changing this country. Because what we are experiencing right now, and I think there's a lot of different analyses, especially in this primary, but here's the one fundamental difference, I think. One very key, crucial question is that, are we here to bring things back to the way they were? Or are we here to transform our future fundamentally? And that is a core and important question. Because I don't know about you, but I don't want to go back to a time when billionaires purchased our elections over and over again. I don't want to go back to students racking up student loan debt year after year. I don't want to go back to our health insurance and our premiums and our co-pays skyrocketing year after year. I don't want to go back to our rents going up. I don't want to go back to that time, because that is what got us here. That is what got us here. So this movement is about root causes. And this movement is about root solutions. And that is what, at its core, we are fighting for. Systems change in the United States of America. And for that, many people would want to call us radical. The belief that in the richest society in modern human history, the fact that we believe no person should be too poor to live is seen as radical. It's seen as revolutionary. The fact that we believe that in this country no one should die because they can't afford insulin is seen as radical. It's seen as dangerous. The fact, thank you. The fact that we believe that people should be afforded an education that fits in a 21st century economy, that is seen as radical too. The reason it is seen as radical is because these policies are dangerous to the established order in the United States of America. It's not dangerous because it will lose an election. Let me make that crystal clear. Let's make it crystal clear, not wine cave crystal. Let's make it crystal clear. The crystal clear I'm talking about is that the vast majority of voters believe in Medicare for all in the Democratic Party. Majority of voters believe that wide-scale action on climate change is necessary in the United States, that we need a Green New Deal. A vast majority of voters believe that tuition-free public colleges, universities, and trade schools is the direction for our future. So when they say these policies are dangerous, they're not dangerous to us, they're not dangerous to this country, they are dangerous to the established order and the distribution of wealth in America. That's what it's dangerous for. And for that, I'm happy to be a dangerous woman. Because we should all be dangerous. We should be dangerous to injustice. We should be dangerous to the presence of racism. We should be dangerous to anyone. We should be dangerous to systems that want to criminalize immigrants. We should be dangerous. We should be dangerous to the indignities of less than a living wage. We should be dangerous to homelessness. We should be dangerous. We should be dangerous to a system that treats us less than we deserve. Let's make this space a place of radical honesty. Raise your hand if you've ever dealt with student loan debt in your life. Keep it raised. Raise your hand if you've ever dealt with medical debt in your life. Raise your hand if keep your hands raised. Raise your hand or keep your hands raised if you know anyone that had to take out a payday loan in their life. If they know a child with student lunch debt. Who puts a child in debt? That is immoral. This right here, if you raised your hand, that's what the 99% looks like in America. And if you raise your hand and you believe in Medicare for all, and you believe that our politicians should be financed by people and not billionaires, if you believe that education should be afforded as a right, that housing is not a commodity for speculation, but a right to be lived in, if you believe that it's time that fossil fuel interests stop running our political system, then I got news for you. You're dangerous too. But the one thing that I've learned in politics in my brief year here, because it's hard to believe, but last February I was slinging margaritas in downtown Manhattan. for that, a lot of people want to say that I don't know what I'm talking about. And for that, and it's okay. It's all right. I'm used to it. And for that, people want to say that I lack leadership, that I lack experience, that I lack context. But we all know that the people who are experts at these systems are the people who have been directly impacted by them. Nobody, and so I can tell you, nobody knows more, for example, about our health insurance system than someone who has had to navigate these premiums, than a person who has been uninsured. Nobody knows more about our immigration system than the people who have struggled to become documented and do the right thing. No one knows more about our rent laws than people who have danced on the brink of eviction due to skyrocketing rents. There is expertise in being on the front lines and being directly impacted by these issues. And we have to own that. Because this idea that we should defer all of our policy making to technocrats who have never lived this experience before in their lives is mistaken, I can tell you. I now see how policy is made in Washington, and it feels like a national scandal. It does, and it is. And what we need to do is turn this order upside down. But we can do it. And that's the thing that is fundamentally important for us to understand. We have the power to change our future. We can shift our perspectives. And it takes all of us putting the work in. But what I can tell you is that that starting line is a Bernie Sanders presidency. And I'll tell you something about this campaign. It was very similar when I was running for office a year ago. We were running and people said it was impossible because I was working a full-time job. I had a grocery bag under the bar with clipboards and some postcards that I made at a copy shop. And I would take the subway back to Queens or up to the Bronx, and I would host little house parties, 5 people at a time. Seriously, I would spend my whole evening trying to convince 5 to 10 people for months. But it added up. And then those 5 to 10 people told their 5 to 10 people, and who told their 5 to 10 people. And at the time, they said that for me to run a grassroots, small dollar funded campaign was impossible because nobody knew who I was. And that if I wanted to, I had to spend all of my time calling the wealthiest people who I didn't even know. I mean, like, this is also one of these funny class differences. It's who knows someone with $2,500 to spare in a max out check? Like, who knows somebody like that? And most people do not. God bless those that do, but most people, that is a class reality. And so I funded my campaign with small dollar donors and trying to leverage emails and social media and all of that stuff. And, but I was running against one of the most powerful people in the Democratic Party, the 4th most powerful person. I had $3 million spent against me. I was outspent 10 to 1. And we won anyway. We won anyway. Because we stuck to our values, because we understood the needs, because we stayed on the ground, because we knocked on doors, because we created art, because we posted it up on the streets, because we did everything that we could in order to make it happen. And so when people try to tell me what is possible and not possible, you have to excuse me for dismissing it. What is possible is whatever we deign to create and establish for ourselves. That is what is possible. Now, if we want to talk about things that are hard, that's a different story, because I will tell you right now, it's going to be hard. It is going to be the fight of our lives and the fight for our lives to stand up to the health insurance industry in this country. It is going to be the fight for our lives to stand up to fossil fuel interests in this country. It is going to be the fight for our lives to stand up to student loan profiteers and payday lenders and big banks. But the thing is, we don't have a choice. As the climate crisis shows us almost most than almost any other issue, is that we literally will not survive this system. We have to change. Our democracy will not survive plutocracy. We have to choose one. And I don't know about you, but I'm ready to choose democracy. I'm ready to choose our country. I'm ready to choose the people, and we have to fight for it. Our country will not survive plutocracy. Our country will not survive fossil fuel, late-stage hyper-capitalist systems. Our democracy will not survive white supremacy in the White House. Our democracy will not survive any of these things. And because of that, we have to change, and we will have to decide what our priorities are going to be. And what it means is intersectional climate policy. What it means is honoring indigenous wisdom. What it means is fundamentally anti-racist public policy. What it means is decarcerating this country. What it means is guaranteeing a living wage. What it means is a labor movement. What it means is dismantling ICE and CBP as we know it. That is what it means. And in its stead, we are going to replace it with systems of justice. In our earlier rally, we had the distinct honor of having Dr. Cornel West open up for us. And Dr. West has long had a quote that resonated for me from the time I was younger. And one of the things that he says is that justice is what love looks like in public. And I don't know about you, but I want to fight for a loving society. And that's it's not to be overly sentimental. It's not to be this like bleeding heart liberal type of thing that people like to say, but it's to say that a loving society is an advanced society. And a society predicated on hate, a society that allows race to divide us from our class interest, a society that allows people to die because they can't afford their insulin so that some fat cat can make profits, that's a barbaric society. I want to live in an advanced society. And establishing an advanced society means universal health care for all people. An advanced society guarantees university and trade school education to all people. An advanced from their mothers and put families in cages. That's not what an advanced society does. An advanced society acknowledges the racial wealth gap in this country. An advanced society does not rely on payday lending. It actually pays people a living wage. We need to fight for an advanced society. An advanced society does not value war among anything else, any other single item in our budget. An advanced society doesn't say, how are we doesn't throw up its hands and say, how are we gonna pay for it? An advanced society asks, how do we want to pay for it? A wealth tax, a Wall Street transaction tax, doing what we gotta do. An advanced society decides what we want and makes it happen. An advanced society decides that it wants healthcare as badly as it wants a space force. That's what an advanced society does. And that's the work that we have here in front of us today. But I need to level with you all because it's going to take work. It's going to take work. It's like what I said when I was first running. We've got people and they've got money. And so, and the thing is that big money is very lonely. It is lonely. We've got people on our side. Because all those dollars belong to such few people. And so it's up to us to mobilize. And right here, we've got, I've heard estimates of maybe 2,000 to 3,000 people here in this gym tonight. We don't need that many more to win the caucus in this state. We don't. If each person, if for every one person here, for every one person in this gym, 10 people show up to caucus, we're well on our way. We are well on our way. And so here's what it's going to take. Every single one of us has something to give to a movement. Every single one of us. Whether it's time, whether it's talent, whether it's one conversation with your neighbor, whether it's translating what you're talking about to your tias and your primos and your family. But we need to get everybody out to the caucuses. That is what we have to do. And so what I want everyone to think about tonight is what they're gonna give to make this happen. Because we're not here to be spectators in our democracy. We're here to fight for it. And so we need to decide, are you gonna bring someone with you to the caucus? Are you gonna create art? Are you gonna post it up in the streets? Are you gonna host a barnstorm? Are you gonna call people in Iowa? Are you going to host a teach-in in your community? We all have something to give, whether it's 5 minutes or whether it's our life. We have something to give. And so what I ask is for us to consider what it is we have to give. And whether it's a conversation or, like I said earlier today, if it's a Facebook post, but don't get into any arguments with people, okay? That's not productive. But share your thoughts, or talk about your values, or have a conversation. But there's two kinds of swing voters, is what I like to say. There's two kinds of swing voters in this country. There's the classic one that people like to think of blue to red and red to blue, which is, there's something to be said for that. But the swing voter that we are most concerned with are the non-voters to voters. That swing voter is gonna win us this election and the general election. So what I need everyone here to do is to go out and get as many of those swing voters as possible. Count how many non-voters you're gonna turn into voters. Do that, because that is the kind of mobilization that we need. And one of the things that we did in my primary, something that doesn't get discussed a whole lot, is that we expanded our electorate 68% over the last off-year midterm primary election. That's how I won. We mobilized young people. In my primary, the turnout of under 40 was as high as above 60. So no one can tell me it's impossible. They can't tell us it's impossible. We need to bring as many non-voters to the polls and to the caucuses as possible. That is our central task. And for a lot of people who don't vote, It's not due to being uninformed. There's all of these bad kind of stereotypes about non-voters. And I think a lot of people deserve a lot more respect, because non-voters, it's not because they're uneducated. It's not because they're apathetic. It's because a lot of people don't want to consent to be governed by nonsense. And that's why they don't participate in our system. So I understand people who are cynical about politics. I completely understand. I have experienced that myself in life. But what we need to communicate is that this time, this year, for 2 days, your primary and the general, it's worth it to believe. It is worth it. Just suspend your disbelief for 2 days out of the year. That's all I'm asking for some folks, you know? And if given that chance, what can we accomplish? We were able to get 68% more people to suspend their disbelief on June 26th of last year. And everything that happened afterward was a result of that. We can enact change in this country, but it takes all of us. And we all have to mobilize. And beyond just organizing for this election, I want all of us to think about how we want to make this part of our lives. Are you going to join your PTA? Are you going to help a friend run for office? Are you going to organize tenants in your community? But it is a call to community that movement making is all about. And I'm just so thankful to be in community with you all today. I'm really, truly grateful for it. And so, with that, I would like to introduce the candidate of the hour, my dear